Gruesome Magazine.
Hello once again, I am Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are looking at Random Acts of Violence, which is going to start streaming on Shudder Thursday, August 20th. Catch it there. All right, let's find out about the crew. Starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Let's get the show on the road.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
That was super fast,
yes,
Jeff.
Yes. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. Hello, Crystal. Boom, zap.
How's it going? I know. See, like I'm ready to read some
comics.
here.
You're into the comics. Yes. We're going to find out what that means here in just a moment. Also with us, of course, is Dave Dreher. Dave, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. I think the four of us all need to go on the road and promote our podcast.
We do.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I totally
You gotta travel around.
Road trip.
Stay in
Road
seedy
trip.
hotels.
Let's do it.
Oh.
Yeah.
As
Small
long as
towns with abandoned gas
As long as we
stations.
have a black light.
The hotel in this movie was a seedy hotel. Any hotel that is just freaking that
Cinder
brick,
block walls.
cinder block walls looked like a jail cell. Like what the hell?
They're out there. They're out there, and if you stayed in them, you know what I mean. All right, Random Acts of Violence is coming to Shudder August 20th. It is from Jay Baruchel, yes, and written by Jay Baruchel and Jesse Chabot.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
It is based on. It does sound good. Based on a comic by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, and I'm just fumbling over everything, but that's okay. That's what I do all the time. It stars Jesse Williams, Jordana Brewster, Jay Baruchel, Niam Wilson, and Simon Northwood, and a few others. The synopsis is: a pair of comic book writers begin to notice scary similarities between the character they have created and horrific real life events, and that doesn't really touch on any of it. This movie is so much more. This is going to be a fun discussion because I'm just going to start off saying I was completely surprised by this film. I did not know what to expect. This movie really, really surprised me. But let's find out what the crew thought with their first thoughts. That's what we do. We do our first initial impressions, and then we talk about it, and then we wrap up with our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. Let's start off with Crystal Cleveland. Crystal, what is your first impression of Random Acts of Violence?
So I too did not know what to expect from this film, and boy, was I kind of thrown for a loop. To me, this movie has kind of a Seven feel vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has quite a bit of gore that I wasn't ready for. I love gore. I was so excited, but I just, for some reason going into this, I didn't expect it. I thought it was going to be kind of a low-key movie, but it is completely different. The comic, the lead actor was phenomenal in his role. I completely bought everything he was selling, and I love that he's a comic book artist, writer, and hence my background. Hey, so yeah, he's writing about this killer, and then I don't want to give anything away, but the worlds start to collide again, or maybe for the first time, who knows what. And I loved it. I really did. I think it was well written. I think it was creative. I think that it went far enough. I always kind of want it to go further, but I think this just rode the line perfectly. There was some issues I had with some of the things that the characters said and the way that they felt when Jordana's character was not understanding how he had an issue with her interviewing, one of the characters. I was confused because I could totally see his perspective from it completely. I mean, this is kind of his story in a way as well. So I think it was shot well. I think it was edited well. The music was great. I liked it. Yeah.
You liked it. You liked it.
Oh, some of the gore too. Just really good. Really nice.
Well, the lead actor is Jesse Williams. A lot of people out there will recognize him from Grey's Anatomy, but I think horror fans.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I haven't watched, but I mean, wow. Yeah, that's a big
later seasons.
deal.
And then, of course, horror fans will remember him from The Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, he looks familiar, and those pretty eyes, and look at those cute little freckles. Totally didn't.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Crystal's self-flagellation is always
Yeah, I'm like,
that you just like hit yourself and
I feel bad. I'm like, oh, of course.
All right, let's find out what Dave thought. Dave, what is your first impression of Random Act of Violence?
Well, I think we kind of all went into this one a little blind. I really didn't know what this one was about either. And pleasantly surprised. I really like some of the moral questions they take on this. I think we'll probably get into this a little deeper as we go. But my first impression was that, they asked some very difficult questions through the course of this film. They kind of let you make your own answers to those questions. They're not really preaching anything at you. But it is, very gory, very disturbing. The scene where they're in the, I guess they're in a comic book shop, and that long line of people with the welder's masks, and the guy shows up with the truck, the death truck that he's done. And I was just like, I'm thinking, what a bunch of whack jobs. And I think, well, wait a minute. I go to the fucking conventions to do the same goddamn thing. I stand there with my Halloween shirt on and my machete for Kane Hodder to sign, and it's like, I get it. I get what the director is trying to say here. So I really love that he kind of focuses on that while at the same time delivering us an entertaining watch. So, my first impression was Random Acts of Violence is potentially could be a little sleeper hit here when this thing hits. Is this going to Shudder?
It's going straight to Shudder. Yep.
Yeah, I think when this one hits Shudder, I think it may get embraced quite well by the fans.
embraced.
Yes, and it should be.
It should.
All right. Excellent. Jeff Mohr, sir, you're up next. What is your first impression of Random Acts of Violence?
I pretty much what Crystal and Dave said. I like the moral questions too. I've still been thinking about it. You already mentioned Jesse Williams. My wife, I watch Grey's Anatomy by proxy. My wife's a huge fan, and
No choice.
I kind of have kept up on it. He does a great job in this, I think. And also writer-director Jay Baruchel, who also appears as Ezra, who has a memorable scene in the car.
A number of them, yes.
So it's another one of those, it's a take on art and its subjects and how that influences people. Basically we have, and Doc's already said this, but we've got this, his character, Todd, Jesse Williams' character, Todd, writes this comic book called Slasher Man that's based on the I-90 serial killer that was in operation from, I think they say, 87 to 91, and then quit. And he's wanting to end his graphic novel, and he's trying to figure out, or in the comic, what's the last comic, what's the end of the story. And it ends up, I don't know, I don't even know how to say it. It's like life imitating art, imitating life, almost. Is it art imitating life, imitating art? I don't know. There's a lot,
not both.
yeah. So, because he takes a certain amount of abuse about the level of violence in Slasher Man, and let's leave it at that. But he also has the fans, like Dave was talking about, people standing in line. His killer wears a welding mask, which obviously the glass has been replaced with clear glass because you wouldn't be able to see out of a welding mask. Anyway, it's I don't know. I liked it. It's a topic that we hear a lot about, and it's good acting all around. I got a little tired, or maybe not tired. I'm not sure how to describe it, but the interplay between Todd and Kathy with Jesse Williams and Jordana Brewster was irritating to me at times. They were like talking over each other, and not that there was they weren't making any progress. So conflict doesn't bother me, but there wasn't any. I don't know. Maybe I think that was just me being uncomfortable with that type of conflict, because I didn't hear either one of them saying anything that wasn't true. I didn't think.
Well, I don't think either of them wanted to hear what the other one had to say.
Right. Exactly.
She was trying to tell him that he was partially responsible for creating this monster, and he was just saying, "No, it's just a fucking comic book." I'm just trying to put food on the table.
But at the same time, she's apparently been naive about it up till now, or just trying to pretend, because apparently it hasn't come up before.
Right.
Well, I felt it uncomfortable that she was going to interview the victims, or was it the victims or the living relatives, and then acted like it had nothing to do with him.
Right.
I think that's absolutely insane. Yeah. It's like, girl, you were riding off his coattails. Sorry, but
really just showed her ignorance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, no wonder. You see why he's upset. He's concerned because look at the reception he receives. He's like, just say you don't, know me. He was actually trying to help her. I found her. She actually was the least likable character to me.
She kind of was, and that. Yeah. But I liked how awkward Todd was. Like when he was talking with, was it Aurora, the little assistant? There's this awkward chemistry between them. It's not romantic or that way. It's just this got nerdy, right? It just kind of got awkward nerds, and showed an interesting side to them.
Well, and she had just seen something absolutely horrific.
Right,
and
right.
That's what he's kind of asking her, how you doing? But even though I'm the guy that draws stuff like that, and she does too, actually.
Yeah. So. But what I like is that his mannerisms change slightly between our other three leads, right? He has a different relationship with Kathy, and he has a different relationship with Ezra. It's a little bit more like buddy conflict all the time, buddy, right? Always poking at each other, and it's interesting because you don't get that a lot, right? A lot of times you get a character acts one way to everybody, and so I really, really appreciated what they did here, and I thought,
well, I think that's really more natural. Well. I think we do treat people differently. I treat people differently for sure. I know that I can be punchy with some people and not with others,
Yeah. Dave, you're the one that loves slashers here among us, especially maybe Jason, maybe Michael. I don't know. Maybe Freddie. Do you like them all?
I pretty much like them all. Yeah.
How does Slasher Man weigh in here to this? Do you like Slasher Man? Is he?
He's super slashy.
He's super slashy.
I mean, it kind of plays on all the tropes of that we know as horror fans. The masked, senseless killings. That we don't. That there seems to be no motivation. Although we kind of find out in this case, as it progresses, there is a motivation.
A lot of it,
But the first kill for me that made you realize you were dealing with something deranged was when the kids blow the tire, and he pulls up behind them, and I mean he must stab that kid what?
That was brutal.
My God, he just keeps stabbing and stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. So yeah, I mean, I think it works well, but they do a good job of humanizing this monster. Freddie and Michael and Jason, are senseless killers. This is an actual human being guy, and I think that makes it all the scarier. I mean, I tell you what, if I'm broke down on the road and a van pulls up behind me, fuck that shit. I'm locking the door. I would have
driven on. I don't understand. Drive on those rims. Who cares?
Why would you sit there?
Okay, so yes, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Slasher Man as a what's the word I'm looking for here? as a realization of the man's drawings of him is just as brutal as the graphic novels were that he was creating.
Yeah, because he recreates the scenes in there. It's kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
And for
And actually, the Slasher Man's sort of artwork is reminiscent of Hannibal TV show.
There's a scene in there that we may hear later that definitely feels Hannibal. Yep.
Yeah, very much so. And as we get again, we always walk a fine line on these reviews because I don't want to give too much away.
I know.
But we find out that a child's drawing plays very important into this for our slasher, because I don't think Slasher Man was Slasher Man until our comic book artist made him Slasher Man. He was just a serial killer. The comic book artist gave him a name and kind of gave him a persona. And then that little kid drawing gave, because he even says, the killer guy says, that's the first time somebody had ever drawn me. And it was just this little kid, the child of one of the victims. Yep. I don't know. It's just creepy.
Minor spoilers for all that.
That's what I mean. And I apologize. It's hard to go in depth with this stuff sometimes and not reveal a little something.
Well, I liked how they revealed slowly over the course, and you find out more about Todd's backstory too.
Right. So, but it was really kind of brilliantly done. And you actually, I actually kind of ended up feeling a little sad for Slasher Man in a weird kind of way, because he just didn't know any better, it seemed. I mean, he felt like he was fulfilling some type of personal prophecy.
He did.
So I don't know. I don't know if you can feel sad for a monster like that, but I think you guys know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, and that's usually a sign of a good monster, right? You
can feel empathy towards it. Yeah,
in some way. All right, Crystal, you talked about you didn't like Kathy, but we haven't talked about Aurora terribly much.
I liked her.
What about her? Tell me what your impression of her was.
She was way more easygoing and much cooler, laid back. She was basically the opposite of his girlfriend. I think that's why I preferred her big time. She was just cool, chillax, she just was not nearly as judgmental.
She was very bothered by that dog wrapped in barbed wire.
Wouldn't you be?
Well, heck yeah.
But even before they go on their trip, his girlfriend is like, we're going on a trip with you. I mean, she's just kind of such a bitch. I mean, I love Jordana. I think she's an amazing actress, and she played it so well that I feel this way toward the character, because I think we're supposed to, because she's just not likable. I was kind of hoping she was going to get got. I was like, this bitch needs to get got.
Nice.
It's just
stab her.
Just from the start, I was like, oof, man.
That needs to be a regular part of the podcast.
Get got?
The people who needed to get got.
Yes.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. Who needed to get got?
Yes.
3 get gots.
But she also has this weird character trait where she has to draw what she sees to get it out of her head.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. And of course it creates a bond with her and Todd, because of that.
Honestly, I think if the girlfriend weren't in the picture, I know that scene you were talking about, it wasn't romantic or sexual in any way, but I think they would make such a great couple. I think they fit together way better than his current girlfriend. I just feel like I just feel like they have that chemistry together.
Yeah. Now we should say that, if based on what we recently mentioned, if there is a trigger warning for dead dog, that does happen early in the movie. Yes. So that is a little bit gnarly. I haven't seen.
There's a lot of gnarly though.
All right, there's a lot of gnarly, and that's
we haven't even talked about the triptych. I mean, come on.
But we will. So I mean, but it's interesting that a lot of people can watch people die left and right, but you kill an animal and they lose their shit. And interesting how I think it's our our nurturing nature.
Yeah,
kinda-
dogs are it seems so much more defenseless than humans.
Mm.
And humans, okay, if they're children, it really bothers me. But adults usually deserve it.
They're usually
We're
shit.
all so bad.
Yeah,
We're all
yeah.
so bad. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score and favorite scene. The score is 1 to 5. But before we do, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe below Jeff even, and hit the like
down.
Yeah, hit the like button, hit the bell, and give us some comments. This is coming out on Shudder. You have Shudder. You can watch this, and you can leave a comment and let us know what you thought. And let us know what you think of Jay Baruchel as a director, because we really didn't talk about it, but I thought he really had some chops here. I thought there was a couple scenes in here that really show some style and finesse. You get the impression he's still growing, though, as a director, but you see that he is growing. You know what I mean? That there is.
I think he got amazing performances from everyone.
Yes,
really,
yes, and like there's a lot of potential.
I could not say anything bad about any of the acting in this film. It was all superb.
Even down to the supporting cast, everybody. Yeah, really, really good. All right, so let's do it. Let's wrap it up. Our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. And I believe, Crystal, you first. Crystal,
yep.
Let's do it
first. Okay, so I love it. It's on Shudder. I absolutely think you should see it. And okay, I'm gonna give it a 4.
Wow.
4. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a good.
Yeah. I love the gore. And my favorite scene is the triptych.
Yes.
Because it's so awesome. And I honestly, I wouldn't mind. I wish we could see more of this, and I would like to see more of that. I love, one of the reasons why I love movies like Seven and sorts of, I like these like planned out crime scenes that really turns me on, because I'm a big weirdo. But so that's my favorite scene. It's a 4, and obviously it's on Shudder. You should 1,000% watch it.
1,000%. That I don't think we've gotten as high.
That's
as
a lot of percent.
Yeah, that's a lot of percent.
Dave Dreher, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene, random act.
I really like this a lot. I'm going to even up the ante a little bit. I'm going to go 4.25. This one could sneak into my top 10. It might be a top 10er for me. I really enjoyed the questions that it asks about creators' liability for putting this stuff out there and how people react to it. And I loved our main character's reaction to realizing that, like it or not, he had involvement in creating what was stalking him. I thought it was great. My favorite scene, with all the gore, you think I'd go for the gore, but my favorite scene was actually the radio interview scene.
Oh yes,
when the DJ just goes for the jugular, man, and just puts this dude in his place. And then that's when we get our first phone call from Slasher Man and the ominous, whatever, 2/17/23, whatever.
Yes.
And that whole scene was just really, really well done. When that guy pulls out the picture and says that, one of those victims was his childhood friend, you're just like, oh shit. So I really like that. Was
like an ambush, right?
Yeah,
but it was just really good. It was tense and uncomfortable and kind of heartbreaking and all that all at the same time. So really, really good film. Great directorial effort, fantastic acting, and enough blood to keep us gorehounds happy.
Enough blood to keep the gorehounds happy. I like that. All right, Jeff Mohr, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene, random acts of violence. Whew.
Yeah, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. And they kind of play this comic book thing. There's a little bit of it at the beginning and a little bit of it at the end that kind of ties that theme in. But I also am going 4.25. I probably would have said 4, but it does. It really creates some things to think about. It has something to say about that question, and it's interesting. As far as a favorite scene, I'm tempted to go with gore, or I could go with
Did you say
Something.
gore?
Mohr, gore, my more
Whoa!
is. I'll go ahead and take that. I'll take the scene where they're trying to warn the one carload without going into too many details.
Yes.
And then when well, I guess he's Slasher Man now, gets out of his van, and what happens after that to both cars is wow, just in your face. And there's an interesting side note too, in that we could talk about afterwards. I don't want to bring it up because it gives a little something away, but
Don't give
and if I didn't take that, if I didn't take the gore, I was going to say when the cop interviews him in the police station, I thought she was awesome.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
no, you're going to look at it. You're going to look at it.
Yeah. Well, for me, I like this movie too. I thought it really handled the material really well, and kept it entertaining and fast, and asked us questions like Dave's saying, and didn't back away from the gore. It was brutal at times. It was touching at times. It had a lot more to say than I was expecting, and I didn't know what to expect from Jay. Right? I was thinking, is he going to be funny? Is this going to be comedy? Can he handle horror? I don't know. Maybe he's a horror fan. I really don't know that much. For me, he's a comedian, right? I always see the comedy, but he really gets in here. There's some levity, but it's not slapstick at all. It's not funny or comical. It's just people acting and being funny. The conversation between him, Jay's character, and Jesse's character is when they're in the service station, right? It's all practically empty. It's just funny, right? But not comical. So I really appreciate that. So, and the gore just, oh my gosh, this movie is gory, and there's parts of it that are actually kind of brutal and hard to watch. We even get I don't know if it was a machete or just a large knife to the head that really kind of breaks your heart at the time that it happens. And
that lady stays upright for quite a while.
She does. It makes you wonder, right?
Thumbs up to her stamina.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to give this a 4. It's really, yeah. So I think this is a solid review here. My favorite scene is going to be there's a decapitation. Let's just put that out there.
Oh yeah.
And there's a great scene where our character opens up a door. I won't tell you what door or where. Opens up a door, and the camera kind of zooms in to the head, and we know who. Oh my God! And then it cuts and zooms from the head's perspective back to our character, and I just love how that played out, and I love the shock of it, and I loved it's not quite Hitchcockian because Hitchcock would have just zoomed in and out, but it's actually kind of it probably actually was just a zoom, but it felt like the camera went in and both ways, and it just worked. It worked really well.
Oh, I think that is a zoom and a dolly, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it felt
like a Zolly. I think that's
a
what
Zolly.
Yeah, because it didn't feel like just focus zoom. It did feel like a little bit of a dolly to it, especially going toward the head. It'd be interesting to see how right or wrong I am there, but regardless, the effect worked on me. There's
a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff in this movie. There's a lot of good stuff in it.
There is. All right, so that's it. That's our review of Random Act of Violence. It's coming your way on Shudder Thursday, August 20th. So by the time you're listening to this, it's probably available. So you should watch it. I hope you enjoyed this review. Crystal, Dave, Jeff, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome.
And with that, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.